Visibility is not the same as transfer of trust. People do not refer you because they know your job title. They refer you because they understand exactly who to send, when to send them, and how to start that conversation safely. And that was a massive shift for me. Hey guys, welcome back to this week's episode. And I want to take a pivot this week and talk about something almost non-CRM related, which might surprise people. Now, here's the truth. For a long time, I believed that something that sounds super smart is actually really quite dangerous. I thought that just having a referral partner was a strategy. Do good work, look after clients, show up at your local BNI chapter, build relationships, and naturally business would just keep flowing, right? Simple, comforting, and completely wrong, because referrals are wonderful, but unmanaged referrals are basically financial, astrology. You feel good about talking about them, but nobody should build a mortgage around them. I mean, you can, but, and I learned this the hard way. At the time, I was heavily involved in BNI, right? Plenty of conversations, some great relationships and friendships, a couple of really strong referral partners. And from the outside, it looked healthy, busy, productive, super safe. Didn't have to spend money on ads. I thought it was cheaper, right? But then I did the math, being the sort of data analyst stuff that I like to do. And the math is a little brutal. So it's that little brutal encounter with no interest in your feelings. And I realized that about 80% of my referrals were just coming from 3 people. And here's the uncomfortable truth that with growing businesses, and particularly in professional services, about 80% of your revenue will come from just referrals. We'll spend 80% of our revenue on the other 20%. But if we drill down further, we'll work out that it just comes from a number of small people that you spend the most time with. 3, not 30 or 100, just 3. And what I realized was that if one of them took holidays or another sort of pivoted their business slightly, changed industries or had a slow month or simply got distracted with their life, that my pipeline took a massive hit, right? Not a small wobble, a real hit. And that was the moment, right? That uncomfortable sort of quiet moment when I realized that I hadn't built a referral strategy, right? I'd built a dependency on a couple of people. I was standing on 3 legs of a table and calling it stability. And worse was that I thought that BNI would solve it, as if just being in the room was enough, as if proximity automatically creates predictability. And it doesn't, right? BNI and other networking organizations are an opportunity, not your business model, right? And a lot of people confuse the two. They show up every week. They do their weekly presentation and pitch. They go for meetings and drink bad coffee. They collect business cards like Pokemon and wonder why their referrals feel inconsistent. Because visibility is not the same as transfer of trust. People do not refer you because they know your job title. They refer you because they understand exactly who to send, when to send them, and how to start that conversation safely. And that was a massive shift for me. It wasn't, how can I get more referrals? I started asking, how do I make referrals easier to happen? And that's a very, very different question. And that changed everything. I became far more proactive. Not just waiting, but building. I deliberately increased my number of referral partners in the same way that you would run different ad sets. Because if one person slows down, the machine would keep moving because someone else statistically would pick up. No single person should have the power to accidentally wreck your month. I started educating my partners better, not sending me anyone who needs help, because that's just lazy and largely useless. Be specific, be clear. This is who I help. This is what their problems sound like. This is the moment that you should think of me. Vague referrals are where good intentions go to die. You can build systems around follow-up, around staying top of mind, around creating reasons to reconnect, nurturing that relationship instead of treating partners like a human vending machine. Eventually, that's become part of our referral ready framework, which you should be able to find on my website pretty soon, but I'll put a link to the show notes in that as well. Because people don't have a referral problem, they have a referral architecture problem. They're relying on goodwill instead of deliberate design, hope instead of process, your indelible charms instead of clarity. Unfortunately, hope is a terrible operations manager. Susan is way better. Here's the truth. Referrals are not passive. They're built, they're engineered, they are maintained, and they are protected. A strong referral network should behave like a portfolio, not a lottery ticket. It's diversified, it's intentional, and it's resilient, and it's big. Trust transfer is one of those things that goes a long way to growing a business. But trust doesn't move by accident. It moves through systems. And that lesson is how I built everything in my referral systems, not just referrals, not just sales, your CRM, your partnerships, and your growth, because the same principle applies everywhere. If your growth depends on your memory, luck, or one heroic relationship, you don't have a system. You have vulnerability. So here's the question for today. If your top 3 referral partners disappeared tomorrow, would your business keep moving? Or would you suddenly discover that the strategy you're using is just optimism in a nice shirt? Because the answer matters. Right? Because more clients shouldn't require more chaos. We'll see you next episode.